Hey everybody, welcome back. To those of you new to the channel, I want to welcome you, and to those of you returning, I want to extend a hearty welcome to you as well. It's good to see you all again. The title of this video, I'm going to dive right into it, is The Brutal Truth About Dating, Relationships, and Female Nature. Now, I realize some of the things that I'm going to say here might trigger a few people, but I'm going to actually lead in with this. Uh, I've been doing a significant amount of research trying to really pull almost exclusively from the female point of view of what women are looking for in relationships to kind of quantify a little bit of what might be going wrong. Just to kind of take it from a different approach a little bit, because a lot of the times I'll cover a lot of the point of view from the men's perspective on this channel, and I don't really delve into this other side of it. So I'll give you a little bit of the basis of the research that I've been finding, which is kind of conflicting, kind of confusing, a little bit on the crazy side at certain points. But let's get into it, shall we? So some of the initial stuff that I've been finding shows that women obviously are looking for a guy who has a lot of financial means, resources, and things at his disposal. Yet at the same time, there seems to be a level of complaining or concern about the availability of this man on an emotional level, or the availability with his time, because it tends to make women feel like they are to some degree a little bit insecure, like they feel like he doesn't value being around them, or he doesn't value paying attention to them. But it kind of creates this weird sort of catch-22 where he has to have enough time to make all the money and get all the resources and everything, at the same time have enough time to make you feel like you're kind of the center of his universe. Therefore, he doesn't have the time to do those things, almost implying that you would need to be basically two different men that have split off into replicated forms of each other just to be able to do both things and find some way to balance that. It was kind of incredible. Now, and understand, this is coming entirely from descriptions that women are giving on TikTok and some of the other platforms that I've been looking at, and various blogs and videos that I've been looking at as well. And even a few articles that I've thrown in there just to kind of clear this up. And I'm going to give a few more examples of some of the things that I saw, and then give a little bit of kind of consolidate it all here in a minute. But several other different things, including women feeling like they were looking for men that, to some degree, had a validation. They had been noticed by other women. There was sort of a pre-vetting process where other women felt that this guy was attractive. They felt like he was a catch. And to some degree, it caused women to feel like this person is somebody that I might be definitely interested in, especially if they already had noticed this guy and thought, he's attractive. This is somebody I want to be connected to. And they're noticing other women are attracted to him as well. And this is on a subconscious level. Not many of them were actually flat out saying this, but they were acknowledging to some degree, if other women are recognizing the same traits that they are recognizing, that is attractive to them. At the same time, it makes them feel threatened and insecure to some degree because of the amount of potential attention they might feel that this man might get from other women. And so it makes them feel like they want to kind of close it in as much as they can and try and, not completely lock him into a dark room and never let anybody look at him again, but it does make them very, very nervous. So the very thing that draws them to him is something that is the very thing that makes them feel threatened by it. Another trait is men that are masculine and willing to lead. At the same time, ultimately, the women want to get to a point where they have a level of control over everything. They want the guy to lead, but inevitably ending at a place where they have most of the say in everything that's going on. To some degree, emasculating that man, and in many cases, completely emasculating him. So, drawn to strong traits where other people are pre-selecting this person and attracted to them. They want somebody who has leadership. They want somebody who has financial means, looks good, and a number of different things like that. And they want to try and lock in this individual, but at the same time, there is a control factor going on that's kind of working in the background where they want to feel more secure over time as they gain more control over the situation. it ultimately creates a scenario where they are fighting for the very thing that if they gain too much control, they will lose attraction for the man that they managed to gain all that control over. They will emasculate him to the point. Now, many of you have seen this scenario before play out, where you've met men that were married, where the women have gained that full level of control. They've completely cut off everything that he ever used to do and any of the things that actually attracted them to him in the first place. And now they can't stand to be in the same room with him. They can't even stand to look at that guy anymore. He's been so emasculated that they're disgusted by him. And they now are tempted to want to seek out sexual and romantic connections with other men in other places because they just can't stand to look at this guy. They don't want to cut off the resources, but they've reduced the individual this man to a point where he is a shell of the person that he used to be. In an odd sort of way, it becomes its own worst problem. Women become their own worst problem in that sense. And this is not a dig against women. This is just an observation of finding a way of balance between the two of those things is really, really, really tricky. Very few people realistically can do that to where they actually can have a marriage that doesn't completely sink under the weight of all of this, where you have that natural drive to where a woman would want to control a lot of these factors and things, but at the same time, they end up in a place where they end up killing the very attraction and drive that brought them to this in the first place. It's a very, very dangerous thing. It's a very, very dangerous drive that you have to control. Now, I want to clarify something with this. This has nothing to do whatsoever in any way, shape, or form with men that are serial cheaters or like the Giga Chad type that some women attempt to get involved with and try and rescue. Somebody who is a Giga Chad, you are never going to be in a committed relationship with anyway, and this is not an attempt to in any way support like a cheating type of behavior. If you've seen any of my other videos, I do not support cheating in any way, shape, or form. If you don't want to be with somebody, you just cut things off and you don't try and drag it on and engage yourself in a bunch of deception and dishonesty that is absolutely unnecessary and really, quite frankly, childish. So this is in no way attempting to say that you can't put boundaries and control that would prevent you from being on the receiving end of being tricked and duped into a situation where you're being cheated on all the time. This has nothing to do with that. This is about absolute control over somebody's life to where the leader in that man that you saw, the man that was making decisions, the man that was maybe a leader amongst other people, the man that was accomplishing all the things or being creative or accomplishing all these things in business and his personality and his looks, everything that made you drawn to him, you feel like you have to do something about it to try and control and turn him into something else to make you feel like you have more of a level of security and control throughout the entire scenario. But the danger, as I mentioned before, is that the more control you gain, the less attraction you have. Men, how much of this resonates with you? Women, how much of this rings true to you? Is there a balance that has to be had between the two things so that you still maintain attraction, but you still have some sort of healthy relationship boundaries? Do you think that's even possible? Now, to kind of go beyond some of this too, I wanted to address another question. Actually, somebody had asked me in an email. They were asking about, to some degree, my red pill experience when it comes to women over time, and this to some degree connects with this and to female nature. I had done other videos where I was talking about my marriage, where I ended up getting divorced and going through an absolute nightmare with alimony and the legal system and the way that it treats men. Unfortunately, in the situation that I was in, my ex was able to basically commit perjury and lock me into a situation where I ended up having to pay alimony in a way that was completely lopsided and messed up. And I've made the video to try and warn everybody about that. And this is from many, many years ago. This is not something that's currently happening in my life. It's long since been taken care of and resolved, really. But I would say even more so than that, one of the major things that was a red pill change for me was once I got beyond all of that and I became the proverbial other guy or the side guy. Once a man has experienced what life is like on that end, even if you're not partaking in it, even if you're not involved in any type of cheating, but you've been approached by people that are married, people that are in committed relationships that want to get involved in stuff, and you see what they are basically doing, the man that I just described that had become emasculated in his marriage is the guy that's on the other end as they approach me or somebody or somebody that they might find attractive in any way, or other guys that I've heard of. Like, I've known guys that have done different types of events and venues down in Vegas and even in Cancun and other places like that, and the stories they have to tell, wow. I'll tell you what, when you see the other side of the brutal and just not just brutal, but I mean ruthless nature of a lot of the women that are out there, and you know, keep in mind, there's not one way that men are and any one way that women are. But when you see the brutal, ruthless nature of that, it completely changes the way that you approach women when it comes to trust. You never just blindly trust ever again, and I think that's actually a good thing. I don't think anybody should ever blindly trust. I think that is an incredibly dangerous place to be, and that nobody should ever do that. But it does change your view of the nature of that, just the way I'm sure any woman that's dealt with guys that are, you know, low life, dusty prison types that women sometimes get involved with, or some sort of Giga Chad or Giga Tyrone type that they were trying to get to lock into a marriage or a relationship long term, and then they get burned by it. You get red pilled in a way where you begin to understand you shouldn't attempt to lock down somebody like that. Well, same with men that experience that with certain types of women that emasculate the guy that they were involved with, and then they want to get involved with a guy on the side, and they maybe even approach you, or you end up hearing stories from friends of yours that foolishly got involved in that situation, which I would never recommend doing. Cheating is never a good idea for anybody, guys, especially if considering the thing about false accusations and all the emotions and heartache, and especially if the other person's married. You've got an angry spouse, you've got maybe kids, family members. The ripple effect is huge, so never ever touch it. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say tonight, and I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. I want to hear all about it in the comments below. I know some people might find some of this content particularly triggering or feel like I'm attempting to insult anybody, but really it's kind of attempting to make heads or tails of what's motivating everybody and just be brutally honest about it, because I think we all need a breath of fresh air and just brutal truth and honesty when it comes to especially relationships these days. As complicated as they've become with online dating and all the other factors that are involved with social media, which in many regards, unless you are running a business on there or something, in many regards, that's just another form of a dating profile. People are checking you out, and the next thing you know, somebody's hitting you up. So that's pretty much it for tonight. As I said before, I want to hear from you in the comments and see what you think about this. And make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All of that helps the algorithm. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Have a great night.